Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Writing the College Admissions Essay. Thanks for that little bit of patience as we finished up the session prior. I'm happy that you're all here. There's plenty of seats, so if you're still coming in, feel free to grab a seat, and we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Carrie Pratt. I work here at the University of Vermont, so on behalf of everyone at UVM, welcome to our campus. We're really glad that you're here. I want to give you a little bit of information about myself before we jump into the presentation. So I am a lifelong Vermonter, graduated from Essex High School in 2005, went to my own college and career pathways in 2004 down at Norwich University. I remember being very nervous because I didn't feel like I was ready. But here I am on the other side. I've probably presented at college and career pathways 7, 8 times. So I am very glad that you're here. Kudos to you for being here. After I finished my experience at Essex, I went over to St. Michael's, got my bachelor's degree in English. And then while I was working here at UVM, I got my master's degree in education. I work now here, as I said, as Senior Assistant Director of Admissions for Communications. I also work with students from Michigan who are interested in coming to UVM, and I liaise with our College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. I have worked in a lot of different areas of higher ed, mostly admissions, but I have also worked in campus recreation. I've been an adjunct faculty member. I've worked in career coaching, and I also participated in a professional development experience last year called College Board Enrollment Leadership Academy. So I've also read about 5,000 admissions essays, and I think that's what makes me qualified to talk to you all today. But also, I am way more than just that. I'm an advanced body pump instructor. I teach here on campus twice a week. I love animals. I volunteer at the Humane Society every Sunday morning, working with cats and small animals. I'm a person with a chronic illness. I have chronic migraine. I'm a 9-time half marathoner, and I've run 1 sprint triathlon, and I was like, well, that's all I want to do with that. I'm part of a bicultural family. My husband's from Cyprus. And I read 54 books last year, and you can see my 2 favorites are up there. And if you want to talk to me after about book recommendations, I would love to answer. So whoa, that's a lot of information that doesn't really say much about college, writing the college admissions essay. I want you to think about these 2 slides as the way your application to college is going to go. So you've got your application, right? We've got the buttoned up part where I'm telling you all my qualifications. I've been doing this for 13 years. I've read 5,000 essays, But then I told you the stuff that actually makes me me. And that's my essay to you, right? So the second slide, those topics would probably make good essay topics. That first slide where I was like, and I did this and I did that, not a great essay, right? I wasn't super excited about it, but when I was telling you about cats at the Humane Society and going skydiving, I was excited about that. So those 2 pieces of me come together to make me who I am, and that is what a college application is all together. So we're going to be talking about the essay today specifically, and I want you to kind of potentially call back to your mind as you think about your own self and your own presentation of who you are to colleges, that you do have so many facets about you. I think I remember from my own college and career pathways being like, yeah, but I'm so much more than my transcripts. I'm so much more than the fact that I took earth science when I was in 9th grade, right? And your application is going to have lots of opportunities for you to showcase that. The essay is a big one, but it is just one of those opportunities. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about what is the purpose of the Common Application Essay. And I am using the words Common Application Essay. I use that because UVM accepts the Common Application and it is widely accepted. But know that this information is relevant, even if you're not going to submit the Common Application to a particular school. Individual schools do have their sort of an essay as a part of their application. So when I say Common App, I really mean sort of a broad essay. We're going to talk about the purpose of the essay. How do colleges use it? Why do they use it? Why are they looking for it? We're going to talk about picking a topic. What do I write about? I can write about anything I want. What do I write? We're going to talk about writing tips specifically. As said, I have a degree in English and I really, I love writing. So we're going to talk about writing tips. We'll also talk about approaching optional essays. So a piece of the application that's not that main college essay, but it is a part of many applications. We'll talk about why and what would the purpose be. And I want to leave time for questions as well. So please feel free to ask questions. I'll also stay after if you have individual questions that you would like to ask. I would be more than happy to answer them. So what is the Common App essay? Nuts and bolts. It's a mandatory section of the Common Application. It is something you have to do. It's a 650-word maximum, and it goes to all of the colleges that you're applying to. So if you're applying to 5 schools with the Common App, this essay that you're writing is going to go to all 5. That's going to come into play a little bit later when we talk about some of the tips. And there are 7 prompts that you can choose from. I will actually put the prompts up on the screen so you'll see them. We could talk about what they are, what they're about, and how we might approach them. So the essay is about sharing who you are as a person. So you can think about those, again, those first 2 slides where I told you my qualifications, and then I told you about who I am as a person. That essay piece is for you to talk about who you are as a person. It's for me to get a sense of your personality. Personality maybe is a little bit of a narrow word to describe it, but to get a sense of who you are outside of just your transcript, if you choose to submit standardized test scores, get a sense of like the more dimensions of who you are. It's for going beyond the numbers, of course, going beyond a GPA, going beyond minimum entrance requirements. Have you taken this class? Have you taken that class? It's for going beyond that, for showing your writing skills, and then for also telling your story. So what is it about you that is going to make you a good fit on our campus is way more than just if you've taken the necessary prerequisites. It's also about your story and who you are. So the essay is not a number of different things. So 1, it's not a place to talk about your high grades. I've already seen your high grades. I've already seen your transcript. I've already seen the different things that you've done academically. So you don't have to rehash that in your essay. I promise you that it's already been seen. You don't have to say it again. It's not for talking about why you want to go to a specific school. Remember, I said the essay is going to go to all of the colleges you apply to. So if in your essay you say, and that's why I want to go to XYZ University, but I work at ABC University, I'm going to be like, don't love that. But it's not like make or break, but just be thoughtful about that. Just be thoughtful. It's also not a recycled essay from your English class. Now, I know some students do take sort of like essay writing courses, and that's fine. If you're writing a college essay in an English class, that's fine to use for your college essay. But it's not an essay where you're talking about allegory and of mice and men. Like that's not really what we're looking for, if that makes sense. It's also not your list of activities or your resume. That's something that I can get also from other parts of the application. I don't need to kind of have that glossed over, let's say, in the essay. And it's also not your entire life story, because 650 words could not be your entire life story, right? Absolutely not. There is no way that I approach an essay looking to see like, all right, tell me everything else. That's not what it's about. It's not about your entire life story. So I gave you my qualifications. I told you why you should listen to me, but there's also other folks who are speaking about the essay that I think you should listen to as well. So the National Association of College Admissions Counseling says, ask your friends what they are writing and then don't write about that. So there are a lot of people in this room who could probably write about the time they scored the winning goal, basket, whatever, okay? But you could write about that in a different way. But if all your friends are like, oh yeah, I'm writing about the time I scored the winning goal, let's go in a different direction from that. I've read a lot of winning goal essays, as you can see. And then the Princeton Review, they say the best way to tell your story is to write a personal, thoughtful essay about something that has meaning to you. Be honest and genuine, and your unique qualities will shine through. And so you'll see as we continue on in the presentation that this idea of authenticity, being genuine to yourself, that really is what the essay is meant to be about. So we're talking about kind of 2 different things here. We're talking about the topic of what you write about, and we're talking about the prompt that you follow. So I'm going to encourage you to think about what topic you want to write about before you look at the prompts. So I'm not going to show you the prompts for the Common App essay until after we talk about this. The reason I think that is important is because you can pick a topic that a prompt will help you do a really good job writing about. So let's say the topic I want to write about is how I love to read. Okay. Well, I'm not just going to sit there and list off the books I've read or what was the first book I ever read in my whole life or like those sorts of things. I'm going to use the prompt to help me focus on a specific part of reading. And that's going to be my essay. So think about, and you don't have to say, oh, I know it's going to be this topic, but think about a couple different topics. Maybe it's your love for sports. Maybe it's how you started out, being a musician, but you weren't really that great, but you stuck with it. There's lots of different topics that we could write about. Then we can pick our prompt to help us get really in depth and go a little bit more kind of around the corners of that topic to really write a good essay. So some things you might think about when you're thinking about choosing your topic. What are key moments for you when you think back on your life? What are your key moments, the things that really stand out to you? What do you want your reader to know about you? What are the things that they don't know about because of other parts of the application that you really think, they should know? what's important to you, and then what would your application be incomplete without? So yes, we've got the letters of recommendation, we've got the transcript, we've got maybe the optional standardized test scores, but what would your application be incomplete if it didn't include? And that could be a good essay topic. So then you think about which of those prompts is my topic going to fit? So I think you can probably tell by now that I don't really think that the prompts matter as much, right? It's not necessarily what you're writing about, it's really how you write it. And so the prompt is going to help you figure out, like, what is the best vehicle into this topic? How can I trim this down to 650 words as opposed to my, my whole life story? What have I not thought to address about this topic that I'd really like to get to? And the prompts can kind of help you get to that place. So the prompts, here they are. I don't really want you to worry about reading them. You can, I Googled this in order to find this, like you don't have to worry about the specifics of them. The things that I want you to pull out from these prompts are they're broad and they're about something a little bit deeper than some kind of summarization. So it's not just a summary of this event or this topic that you're going to write about. It asks you to go deeper. So it's usually the last sentence of the prompt that's going to ask you to do that, or the last little bit. So for example, for prompt number 2, how did it affect you and what did you learn from the experience? That's really like what the question is about. The third one, what prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? So how can we get a little deeper into what it is that you're going to talk about? Number 4, how has this gratitude motivated you, affected or motivated you? So it's asking you questions to help you take that extra step to go one step deeper into this topic that you have chosen. And then the last one, which is the one that I think we see most commonly, hands down, is essentially topic of your choice. So really, yeah, there are 6 topics that you can absolutely, or excuse me, 6 prompts that you can go in depth into. But the 7th one, which is topic of your choice, really just allows the floodgates to open for you. You have an opportunity to write about just about anything. Now, if that for you is like too much, then you can go back to these other 6 prompts and find something that can help you find your way into your topic. So the most common question that I get asked when I do this presentation or when I talk to people about applying to colleges, what does the admissions counselor want to read? What do they want to hear? Like what's the best topic? Okay, well, if you've been here today, you've probably met a number of admissions counselors. You've seen all different ages, you've seen all different backgrounds, you've seen all different experience levels. So I can't give you an answer as to what every college admissions counselor wants to read because every college admissions counselor is different. And that's why this process is done by people and not by machines. So there is no answer. So the only answer I can really give you is to just be you, because that's how you're going to write a good essay. You're going to be yourself. It's going to be authentic to you. Dare I say, might you have fun writing it? You might. That's how you know you're writing a good essay. That's the kind of essay I want to read as an admissions counselor. So how do we read the essays? How does it kind of factor into the whole process? So for me, I could close my eyes and I could visualize the common application. I've read so many applications. I know what it looks like. I know exactly where all the pieces of information are. And when I'm going through, I'm kind of skimming. I'm looking for particular parts. Okay, I know I'm going to read this part. I know I need to find this part. I know I need to find that part. And so when I get to the essay, like what's the mindset that I'm going in with? Typically, I have looked at, say, the transcript. I've understood, do you meet the minimum entrance requirements to get into ABC University or UVM? I have kind of figured out what major you might be interested in, perhaps a little bit of like, why are you applying to UVM? Why does it feel like it's a good fit for you? So I'm approaching the essay looking for what kind of gaps can I fill in? What's missing here? So for example, you're number 1 in your class, you have all A+ in all of your classes, you've done like Scholars Bowl and math club and all of this stuff. And I'm like, what? That can't possibly be like enough for the student to be really like loving life. So what gaps can I fill in? What do you write your essay about? What is it that you're going to bring to our campus that is more than just, say, those numbers and things like that? That's kind of like the attitude I'm going in with. I also really like going in with the attitude of, what does the student want me to know? They've got 650 words to say anything they want. What are they going to say? And that really says a lot about who you are, what you choose to focus on. If you choose to focus on something that you've already kind of told me in the application, then I know it's really, really important to you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just kind of something to notice. If you go way out in left field and you talk about something, I'm like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. That's just kind of another interesting piece. Like, what have you chosen to spend your time writing about? We're also looking at your writing skills. So, did you capitalize I? Did you use punctuation? Things like that. But for the most part, the people who are reading your essays they're not English teachers. They're not there to judge. I mean, they're there to make sure you've constructed sentences appropriately, but they are not professional editors or things like that. So take a little bit of the pressure off of yourself in terms of like, it has to be 1,000% perfect, and just put time into your essay. Like, if there's anything I can say that bothers me, the thing that bothers me the most of anything is when I can tell a student was like, blah, 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 whatever, because I have to then read that. And I don't want to read that. I don't want to read that. I want to read something you put time into and you put effort into. I can tell when you put effort in, and I can tell when you didn't put effort in. So definitely put effort into your essay. So I already kind of teased this a little bit, but it is less important what you write and more important how you write it. I have read essays about Harry Potter. I have read essays about why don't women's pants have pockets. I have read essays about the game-winning goal. And I have read great essays about pretty much anything you can think of, and also terrible essays about pretty much anything you can think of. So how you write it is so much more important than what you write, I promise you. But if you can get that double whammy of putting time and effort into your topic, and that topic really means something to you, that's the secret. That's going to get where you want to go. So if you take just 4 things away from this presentation, I want you to take these 4 words. I want you to focus on reflection, analysis, outcomes, or you don't have, not all of them, learning. So let's pick our topic in our head. For me, it's going to be about why I love animals. So I'm not just going to summarize. You'll notice summarize is not one of those words there. I'm not summarizing for you why I love animals. I am talking to you about the outcome of loving animals in my life and why that's so important to me. It's taught me patience. It's taught me how to be open-minded. It's taught me how to be kind, right? So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not just telling you I love animals and, they're cute and I like cats and I like manatees and whatever. Well, I'm reflecting on why is that so important to me? Maybe it's because I didn't grow up with any animals in my house. And now that I know what it's like to have a relationship with an animal, I can't imagine having anything else, right? That'd be a kind of a cool essay. I'd love to read that. So focusing on these things, reflection, analysis, outcomes, learning. What did I learn from this? What did you learn from that? Those are going to be the things that are going to make your essay really good. So of course we have to make our English teacher proud. We have to do certain things. We definitely have to use paragraph breaks. It's not easy to read a big, long paragraph essay. My eyes kind of get like, woo, and I don't really gather as much from it as I probably could if you use paragraph breaks. Definitely proper spelling and grammar. You don't use too much dialogue. So if you're recounting a conversation that you had with someone, and it takes like almost the whole 650 words, I'm hearing a lot more of someone else's voice than your own. And I want to hear your voice. I don't want to hear the conversation that you had with someone. I want to hear your own voice. And so I want to make sure you don't use too much dialogue. Can you use some dialogue? Absolutely. All dialogue, probably not a good idea. Also, you are enough. You don't need a thesaurus. You don't need a thesaurus to change your words for you. You don't need to go back to do they still use that like SAT, like word learning, like workbook thing that I remember from my sophomore year of high school? Don't go back to that to pick out words that you're like, I should remember this word. I should use this. No, I want to know who you are. I want to know what your word choice is. And be sure to proofread. Now, if you're a parent, if you're a supporter, if you're a school counselor, if you're a guardian in the room, I want you to listen to me. Proofreading does not mean changing your students' words. You are not going to college. Your student is going to college. So I want to hear your student's word. Now, proofreading, okay, did they get a little sloppy and did they forget XYZ thing? You know they know it, but it's not about changing their words. So proofreading can look like, wow, like, really good job. This is a great topic. You forgot a period here. That's what proofreading is about. So I want you to think about that. And students, if you're thinking about who you want to proofread, maybe choose someone who you know has that strength to support you. And so maybe that's not your parent, and that's fine. That's fine. It could be your school counselor, your English teacher, could be any number of different people. We have had a very hard 3 years. Very hard. All of us have gone through a collective experience. And so I want you to think about your topic of your essay as probably not a place for these types of things. So raw processing of unresolved issues for yourself, going really deep into an intensely personal experience that you've had only because you think you have to, because you think that's going to sell, that's going to be some sort of unique thing. Topics that lack sensitivity for the fact that a real human is going to read your essay. I have had to get support after reading essays that I have read, truly. And that is something that I just don't think is exactly the right space. So I've put some resources that you may find a better use to find that support, because I absolutely want you to find that support, but I don't think your college essay is probably the right place for that. And so I would just invite you to think about using another source of support for, guiding yourself through challenging times as opposed to your essay. So COVID, do we talk about COVID in our essay? It's probably it's a defining feature of most of our lives, right? So do we want to talk about that in our essay? The answer could be yes. The answer also could be no. A couple things I want you to know about before you think about whether or not you're going to write about COVID in your essay. Number one, there is a section of the Common Application, and probably other applications you may fill out, that asks you about the specific disruption of your schooling and or your life because of COVID-19. So if you need to explain what school looked like for you, or the fact that you have pass-fail grades or things like that, your essay is probably not the right spot for that. Another place would be a better spot for that, simply because it's almost like wasting the space of the essay to talk about something that could be addressed in another place and is understood and expected by the admission counselors. I could say I've read many essays and applications since COVID has happened. Most schools went to pass-fail. Every school went to virtual. Like, those are not things that you need to kind of restate. Those are things that your school will tell us and or are to be expected. So I don't think you need to use your essay to talk about that specifically. There's also an additional information section on the application, separate of the kind of community disruption COVID-19 section. So you could use the additional information section to talk about something that you feel like needs to be addressed, but maybe not to use the whole essay for it. So sometimes students will talk about a challenging semester that they had in high school and a dip in grades. That could be a good option for the additional essay section or the additional information section, so that they don't have to spend their whole essay talking about that. So I would say, don't use your precious essay space to continue on a list of activities or to tell me about what happened in your school during COVID. I would say use your essay for some of the things that we've been talking about, as opposed to that, because there are other spaces for that in the application. Some students will continue on their list of activities if there's not enough spaces for their activities in the additional information section, not the essay section. So that's what I would suggest. So school-specific essays. Lots of schools have them. Why? And what are they about? That's sort of what we'll talk about here. These are UVMs. We've had these topics for the last 3 years. I'm actually on the committee this year right now to come up with the new topics for next year. So don't start planning your essay with these, because it's going to change. But what these essays are, and that I'm telling you the truth because I'm on the committee that comes up with the topics for next year, we want to understand a little bit more about your maybe specific interest in what UVM, I'm going to speak because it's UVM, because I know UVM, a little bit more about your interest in UVM specifically, so these ones are not going to go to all the schools. This is only going to come to UVM. This is going to be on the specific section of the application about UVM, where we ask you what major do you want, what school or college are you interested in, and then here's our optional essay topics. The reason, or one of the reasons that we definitely ask these questions, is we're looking to gauge your interest. If you don't submit one of these essays, we are kind of like, they don't seem all that interested. We at UVM and many other schools are going to be doing what we call tracking demonstrated interest. So if you email me, I write a note in your record that says you emailed me, and that's an interest. that's like kind of a demonstrated interest. If you come to a visit on campus, if you come to a virtual visit on campus, like that is all demonstrated interest, and filling out the optional essay is a definite form of demonstrated interest. So simple enough, the why UVM question or the why ABC University question should be a fairly easy one for you to answer in terms of like, why did I choose to submit an application here? But there's also some fun topics. There's different topics that you might choose. So what Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor would you be if you could, come up with one? What would you build? Like just different topics. These are shorter. They don't have to be as long, but I would say in short, don't skip them just because you think like, oh man, I'm getting kind of tired of doing this, like let it go. I would say don't skip them because it's a really good way for us to gauge your interest in our school. Simple. So I'm not letting in your parent or Joe Schmo from the internet or your school counselor or whatever. I'm looking to let you into UVM. I'm looking to have you on campus next year. So if you write the words of someone else in your essay, then you show up to school on the first day, and that person is not in your pencil. So when your professor says, all right, we're going to sit and write here for 5 minutes about how we ended up in this class, and like nobody else's words come out of your pencil. So there's really not a whole lot of point of plagiarizing your essay because it just doesn't help you. Parents, it just doesn't help the student for you to take over the process because they're the ones going to be on campus next year, not you. So I want you to really think about that. My belief about what the college admissions process is about figuring out who is going to be a good fit at our school. I love UVM. I think it's an incredible place, and I want more people to come to UVM who would be a great fit, who would take us further in our developments in the environment, who will become amazing doctors at the University of Vermont Medical Center, who will be great thinkers in political science. That's what the admissions process is about. So I would much rather read your authentic words than read plagiarized words because it just doesn't compute, right? ChatGPT. Oh my God, everyone's freaking out about ChatGPT. ChatGPT cannot write an authentic essay. ChatGPT can write an essay. Of course it can write an essay. It can literally do anything, but it cannot write an authentic essay. So again, when you sit down in your first day of school, ChatGPT is not going to come out of your pencil. Like it's just not going to work like that. It's not going to serve you well. Also, it didn't know the joke of 7, 8, 9, and it doesn't understand, and it's saying all this ridiculousness about, it's not real, it's not authentic. Don't ask it to write your essay for you, okay? Okay, so final thoughts before we have time for questions. Be yourself. Number one, be yourself. Showcase your writing skills. You've worked hard throughout high school. You've developed your own writing skills. Showcase those writing skills. These are the 4 things we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on growth, learning, outcomes, and analysis or analysis. And if all of your friends could write the same essay as you, choose another topic. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go off in left field and write about something completely different, but what spin can you put on something that someone else might be able to write that you could also write, but better? So those are kind of my final 4 takeaways. And I'm going to open it up to questions. So we have quite a few. We have like 10 minutes, and I would really love to hear any questions. As I said, I'll also be available for individual questions. If you want to just talk to me afterwards, I'm more than happy to answer any specific individual questions, but let's open it up. What kind of questions do you have? Yes. Sure, absolutely. So the question is, are the themes the same every year or do they change? So the prompts have been the same on the Common App for a number of years. I haven't heard that they're going to change next year. Honestly, I think that no matter what the prompts are, you really have an in to write just about any essay that you want. Those topics, like, so for example, if you really liked one of those prompts, I think you could absolutely write about that, even if the prompts change next year, because I can guarantee you they're going to have that topic of your choice question. So they are not going to be, my guess is, they're not going to be like super specific, like, tell me about your experience with COVID-19. Like, I don't think they're going to go down that realm. They're really using those prompts as like an inroad for you to write about something interesting. So, yeah. 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 So the question is about, I said, don't write your life story, but do we want life experiences? Absolutely. If you feel like it's authentic to write about a specific life experience, then 100% yes. But should you write about every life experience that you've ever had? Like when I was in kindergarten, I blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's where the story ends, then yeah, great, fine. But probably is not going to be a space for you to write the whole life story. And that can feel very, very big. So if we choose one life experience or we choose one sort of inroad to a life experience, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great strategy.
Hi, I have a question on Zoom. Do you think writing about an eating disorder is an okay topic if you focus on how you've grown from it?
That's a great question. So the question was about, do I think writing about an eating disorder is an okay topic if you focus on how you've grown from it? I do. I really don't think that there are topics that are off limits, with the exception of certain topics that you haven't sort of resolved for yourself, because you can't take it that next step forward to write about what did you learn from it. So what inroad do you have to your own experience of whatever it might be in this situation, eating disorder? What experiences do you have to help you get an inroad to tell me more about who you are, what you've learned, what you'll bring to our campus, that sort of stuff? So yes, absolutely. I think that's fine. Yeah. Is there confidentiality? That's a good question. So on our campus, I'll speak to my experience at UVM. On our campus, I'm a mandated reporter. So if a student at UVM tells me something, I'm a mandated reporter. I'm not a confidential resource. It's a little bit of a gray area around, college applications, because the student isn't necessarily part of the community yet. Have there been situations where I or one of my colleagues have reached out to the school counselor based off of something in the application that we've read? Yes, absolutely. If someone discloses something, say an identity where they share that they have not shared this particular identity with their family member, never in 5 trillion years would I reach out and disclose something like that. So I think you can count on an element of confidentiality, but also as someone who works on a college campus, I'm very interested in safety. I'm very interested in helping to make sure that our community and other communities are safe. So if I read something that is really, really concerning, I have definitely reached out to a school counselor before. Yeah. Did you have a question? Sure. So the question is, about, is senior year too late for a student who hasn't really taken sort of a college prep writing class or doesn't really feel like their particular strength is writing? Is that too late in order to kind of hold together a strong essay? No, I don't think so. A college prep writing class, meaning like say an essay prep class where you might write a college essay. No, I don't think that's too late. I think that when you're applying to colleges, you're going to be applying to schools who are looking for what you have to offer. My guess is your student is not going to want to be an English major, is not going to want to be maybe a history major. They might want to be an engineering major or a math major or a science major. And we understand absolutely that not every student is going to be the next author of a book. However, every student is going to have to write in their classes, even if it's microbiology or engineering or something like that. So really what we're looking for is to make sure that the student would be a good fit, would sort of be able to be successful. That's really what it's about, is about being able to be successful. So does their writing level contribute well to what we would be looking for broadly in the major that they've chosen? And I don't think that, developing an essay in senior year is going to be a problem for that. In a perfect world, would it have happened earlier? Sure. But, I think we all have various situations in life that we wish we could have differently, and that's fine. But no, I don't think that's too late. I think it is important. It's not the most important thing. That's another thing I should say. If you are well qualified for your major, you have all of the prerequisites, you've done really well in all of your classes, typically your essay is not going to break your application. and vice versa. If you're not qualified, if you haven't taken the prerequisites, if you don't have the math and science grades or insert grade that you're interested in the major, your essay is not going to then make your application. Your essay is an additional piece of information, but really what we're looking for is a student who's going to be successful in the classes that they're taking. And for the most part, the best way we can tell that is the courses they've taken in high school and how they've done in those courses. So the essay is kind of like a little bit of additional information as well. Does that kind of answer that question? Sure. Yeah. So the idea of the essay is going to sometimes help a student really stand out, to push them over the edge. Maybe, but it's really more about the grades and the classes. Yeah. I think I had a question somewhere. Yeah. Ooh, powerful me. It's only me. No, I'm just kidding. Every school does this a little bit differently. I've worked at a couple of different schools and admissions. The question is essentially like, is it just me that says yes or no? Does it go through a series of people? Every school is going to be a little bit different. We talk a lot in college admissions about the committee, and the committee, really what that means is a group of people who make a decision about a file. And one of the reasons we talk about the committee is so that one individual person doesn't get blamed, right? Because that's never going to feel good. And so we talk about the committee really being the ones that make the decision. It depends honestly on the student, on the major, on their grades, things like that. At UVM, if a student is a very clear admit, boom, yes, just me. If there is a student who's a little bit borderline, it will get sent on to another level of person. I happen to also be one of those like second level people. And so I can make a decision based off of the majors that I work with. And then if it's really like a conundrum that I'm just really not sure, that's when we would send it on to a committee of people to take a look and make a decision as a group about whatever the issue is. So those could be disciplinary issues. Those could be, this is a very unique curriculum that I'd never seen before. What do we think about this? Does this look like a good preparation? Anything that's like, I'm not totally sure, would move up the chain, sort of. Yeah. Yes, another Zoom question.
Another Zoom question. So would you advise that someone get a tutor for essay writing, specifically a paid tutor?
Would I suggest that someone get a paid tutor to write an essay? No. I think, as I've said several times, that when I am looking to read an essay, I am looking to understand who you are. And then when you show up onto our campus, that you are going to be successful, not your paid tutor or your English teacher or whatever. Yes, you want your essay to be the best representation of who you are, but I just don't know that paying someone to help you get to that place is going to set you up for success when you go to college. That's really what it's about. So when you think about showing up to campus on the first day at your college, you want to feel confident, you want to feel ready to be challenged. You don't want to feel like I got in because someone else did this for me. There are thousands of schools, and I can guarantee you that there is going to be way more than one that's going to be a good fit for you. And so I would say look for the schools that are going to accept what you have. What you have is great. Is it going to get you into the highest caliber school? Maybe not. Is it going to get you into a technical school that's going to train you to do what you really want to do? Yeah. So think about those things before you think about paying someone to help you become something that you're not actually. Other questions? I think this is the last session of the day. Am I right? How many people want to get out of here and watch March Madness? Me? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so it was an absolute pleasure to chat with you all today. I would be more than happy to have you email me, just carrie.pratt@uvm.edu. If you're interested in UVM or you have questions about the essay, I would love to hear from you. And I am going to say up here, if you have individual specific questions, I would love to answer. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us.